it's unbelievable. We couldn't believe that when we arrived here, and I really feel safe here, even more than I feel safe in France or anywhere else in Europe. Maybe in a few months we can create a podcast called "How to Survive Portugal Without Eggs."
Might be a good idea because it's a challenge.
It's a challenge in Portugal.
On this week's episode, I'm joined by Doriane Zalewski. Doriane is born and raised in France. She's also a former French national athlete. She's passionate about wine, and after living and traveling all over the world, spending time in the US as well, Doriane has been calling Portugal her happy home for the last 3 years. We discuss, amongst other things, what Doriane loves about living in Portugal: the weather, the food, nature, the people, and the wine. Of course, I tried to settle the question, is Portuguese wine better than French wine? And Doriane shares why the best thing that she loves about living in Portugal is that she can live wild and free. For those of you listening, head over to our YouTube channel to watch some of this episode. And for those of you watching, click down below and subscribe. And for the full podcast episode, go to Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, over to my conversation with Doriane. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life. And I'm delighted to be joined here by Doriane Zalewski. Doriane, or Dori, how are you? And thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Dylan, for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to be here and share my stories.
Dori, why don't you start off telling us a little bit about you?
I grew up in between two cultures, the French and the Polish culture. So my father is Polish and my mother is French. So I grew up in between these two languages in the countryside of France. And I have always been interested in well-being, sports, Reiki, yoga, and all kind of natural medicine treatments. So I used to be a triple jumper and high jumper, competing in national level in France. And this has been an important part of my life that I really miss today very much.
And you actually competed in Olympics as well, right, Doriane?
In national championship, Olympics, I unfortunately did not because I had an unfortunate injury during a basketball match. So I completely stopped my sport career after this.
Maybe you can talk a little bit first about some of your first visits to the country, the first time that you experienced Portugal.
So my first visit to Portugal was actually related to my work in the wine industry. I helped my CEO to build a wine import-export business across US, Asia, and Europe. And I identified wine all over the world. And Portugal caught our attention, despite the fact that Portugal is a small country, right? So Portugal has a range of different climates, and this is making something truly special. Portugal has a wealth of indigenous variety that provides a point of difference from many other wine producing countries.
And that's what brought you to Portugal the first time, is to explore that sector.
Exactly. So I was traveling back and forth. I was living in UK, Spain, a little bit like everywhere around the world. That was initially what brought our attention.
So how long have you been here then for? How long have you actually been now permanently living here, Doriane?
I have been living here now for 3 years.
Okay.
I am really glad that now I can call Portugal my home, because I used to be a citizen of the world. So meaning I didn't really had a base to live. And my boyfriend is also a professional tennis player.
Okay.
So we were both constantly on the road, traveling from one country to another, him even more than me.
You know, you mentioned that you're glad to call Portugal home. One of the reasons is because at least you don't have to be wandering around the world anymore. But what are you enjoying about living here? What is it that you appreciate about calling Portugal your home?
For me, being happy with the most simple thing is my greatest happiness. So you can find every treasures in Portugal: sunsets, beach walks, beautiful beaches, warm weather, long sunlight days, amazing food, and especially wines. I can really exercise all of my passions in Portugal. Go for a run early in the morning and throughout the entire year, and have an amazing dinner by the beach after work, and go on hikes during the weekend. So I can really find a lot of positive energy in Portugal. in the landscape and in people. I think that it has been pretty easy here in Portugal to reset my mind and find new energy in this simple quality lifestyle. It really helps me to be more efficient in my daily life. I really love Portugal.
What does a perfect day look for you enjoying those simple things?
No, like I said, like food. I just mentioned to you that I actually have a food intolerance to eggs that I recently
Oh,
discovered.
yes, that's tough.
This
That's
has
tough.
been pretty.
No more Portuguese desserts.
No more Portuguese desserts, but I think that what Portugal has to bring is really this simple lifestyle. Like I said, going on hikes, eating well. You have a lot of specialty here, like pastel de nata, bacalhau, bra. Maybe in a few months we can create a podcast called "How to Survive Portugal Without Eggs."
That'd be a good idea
Because
because it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
it's a challenge in Portugal, but I think there are. I am new to it, but there are many foods without eggs. I just
Yeah,
need to find the right places. But
yeah.
no, but I could experience all the Portuguese foods before that because I didn't know about that. And it's very close to the French cuisine.
Okay.
I think there's something, it's very healthy, I would say, Portuguese food. It's very light. It's not heavy, as maybe other culture have. That's why I felt really comfortable with the food. It reminds me home a lot here in Portugal, in France.
With your work as with Reiki and also being wanting to do outdoor activities, I mean, how important is it for you that in this country we're so connected to nature and we can have nature, even if you're living in a city, you can be in nature in 30 minutes. And we've got this beautiful coastline and all of these like green spaces. I mean, how important that is that for you, for your, just your mental well-being, being happy here? How important is that for you, and how much do you enjoy that part of Portugal?
I think there are, like I live right now close to Cascais, and it's surrounded by nature. So you have Sintra around, you have the beautiful beachy sites in Cascais area all along the coast from Lisbon to Cascais. It's even taking the train from Lisbon, from Cais de Sodré to Cascais, it's very enjoyable because you ride all along the beach side and you have access to the nature really easily. You have a lot of hikes, a lot of activity outdoor that are affordable for many people. It's easy to access this activity for everybody. It's free to enjoy.
What do you think makes Portugal unique when you compare it to other places that you've lived, that you've visited, that you've other cultures that you've been exposed to? What do you think makes Portugal different or unique?
I lived in a lot of big cities. For my experience, what makes Portugal unique, it's its strong cultural tradition. Portuguese people are deeply connected to their culture, tradition, and families. I think I never saw Portuguese people as close to their family as I could experiment in other countries. And there is kind of this sense of pride in their heritage. Um, it's something that it's incredible rare in many other countries. And the strong family tradition in Portuguese resonates with me personally because I am also a family person. So I feel really connected to Portuguese people in that way.
What do you want to say about the Portuguese people? Again, you've been exposed to so many different types of cultures and things, but what do you want to say about the Portuguese people in general?
Portuguese people are really calm in general.
Calm,
Calm, yeah.
except when they're talking about food, then they're very serious.
Exactly. And there is one Portuguese athlete here that I would like to mention. It's Patricia Mamona. She's the vice champion Olympic in triple jump, and she's
She's
Portuguese.
amazing. She's
She's
amazing.
amazing. And I
Are you
had the
friends with
chance.
her?
I'm working with her
Really?
because of
Okay.
our triple athletic connection.
Yes, yes.
Um, and I think she's an unbelievable human being. She's really beautiful inside and out, calm. And I think that she represents all the value of Portugal. She's an amazing Portuguese personality, and ambassador and role model. So how I would describe Portuguese people, I think I would take the profile of Patricia Mamona, and this is how I see Portuguese people.
What would your advice be for people that are thinking about moving to Portugal or moving to Portugal? How could they make this a more enjoyable experience? But as a person coming in, what would you recommend and what advice would you give to people?
I think that what people need to know is that in Lisbon, it's a relative peaceful city compared to other European capital. And I really feel safe here, even more than I feel safe in France or anywhere else in Europe. I really feel this peaceful environment at night. When I walk in the streets late at night, I'm not worried. So knowing that Portugal has this safe security, I think it's a very important factor to know.
And so, I mean, as you started sort of digging and exploring, you mentioned earlier in the conversation that you like to travel and explore the wine culture in the countries you go to. Have you had the chance now? I'm guessing in 3 years you've had the chance to really sort of explore some of the wine regions. What has surprised you, and what do you enjoy about Portuguese wine?
What surprised me is the price. It was really cheap for the good quality that you would get. It's unbelievable. We couldn't believe that when we arrived here, and the quality is really good. We can easily sometimes get a wine for 3-5 euros, and you can find the quality back. If I would buy wine for €3 in France, I cannot find the same quality as I can find in Portugal. Yeah, definitely Portuguese people and French people are not as stressed as, for example, I could experience in US or in UK, in the big city capital, where you are rushing a bit more. And I think it's important to know how to take your time and at the same time have a balance, right, in between both work and lifestyle. Yeah. And there is also an important thing that why I think that Portugal is my destiny. I am born on the 25th of April, and the bridge in Lisbon is called the Bridge of the 25th of April, right? So I also thought it was my destiny to be here.
Let's settle a very big question, Doriane. Is Portuguese wine better than French wine?
This is tough. It's I think it depends. It depends. I really like strong wines. It really depends what type of meal you get. I like both. It depends on the occasion.
Okay. Diplomatic answer. Very good. Very, very diplomatic answer. You're not going to get into trouble with anyone with that answer. Doriane, a question that we ask all of our guests. Portugal, the simple life. Why?
Because to me, the best things are wild and free. And that's a wrap.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dylan.
So thank you once again to our guest, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We always love to hear from you. Don't forget, Portugal The Simple Life also has a magazine, so download it. It's for free. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And as we say in Portugal, sejas bem-vindo. Welcome to The Simple Life.